This is what the Olympic gold medalist Carl Hester has to say on Team NAF.
My job in all of this, of course, is to be able to say to the experts, you know, this is what I feel the horse is doing, this is what I would like it to look like, what do you suggest? And I'm lucky to be able to have somebody that I can ask those questions to, because of course they are the experts, they're the people that I have to put my trust in, and the horses. You know, we want to ride on teams, we have to think of safe sport, we know that NAF leads the way in that. I have this really wonderful relationship that I feel is trustworthy, I can ask what I like, and at the end of the day it's how our horses look. And I mean, I think we could safely say that, you know, when you look at the type of horses we have and the covering of muscle and condition that they're in, that things are really working well for us.
Welcome to the Echo Ratings Eventing Podcast, and listeners, it is a cup of tea show for you, very kindly. It's supported by NAF, and I'll be honest, it is absolutely roasting, and the last thing I feel like right now is a cup of tea in the physical sense of the drink, which is very rare for me. But I am so excited for this show because we have got a young lady on the podcast who has got a huge couple of weeks coming up. I will introduce her. I'm just going to dive straight on in. It is the reigning under-21 national champion. She is bound for the Young Rider European Championships at Hartpury in just a couple of weeks' time. Ibble Watson, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It is our absolute pleasure. Now, as is traditional on the NAF Cup of Tea shows, we always start with one question, which is, what are you drinking? It is, I'll set the scene, listeners. It is about 20 to 8 on a Monday evening, and it is very hot.
Yeah, it's boiling. I'm actually drinking some cranberry juice.
Oh.
I know, I love that a cranberry juice. It's so refreshing.
I don't think we've ever had a cranberry juice as an answer before.
Have you not?
No, I don't think so. I'll take that. I'm being a little bit more wild. I am having a gin and tonic, and it is a rhubarb and ginger gin with ginger ale and lots of ice. And it is helping me through what has been a very hot day, chasing a very tired, very warm, grumpy toddler. It is, yes, it's literally heaven, Ibble. And I'm looking forward to kind of digging a little bit around your story because, first of all, it has been a big few months for you, I guess. Let's kind of rewind back to Houghton when you took that national under-21 title with Aristoteles Z, and just, I guess, kind of give us an insight as to what your hopes were going into the week, because there's always that, I mean, the under-21 classes and the young rider classes, the junior classes as well, there's always so much pressure. Did you feel it going into Houghton, and how was your sort of thought process and setup in the build up to that one, first of all?
I actually didn't find the pressure that bad leading up to it, because I did find myself down between one and he won. So I was like, okay, fair enough, I might have a half decent shout. But actually, in the winter, when I started going for lessons with JP, he said to me, he was like, the last person I taught, who was Sophie Howe, won Houghton, so you, no pressure, but you have to do the same. I was like, right, okay, that's pretty big ask, but you know, we'll give it a go. And he, bless him, warmed me up with his daughter Millie for Houghton, and he was like so stressed out, and it was so sweet. And I couldn't have done it without him, and he was so helpful. He called for me about 5 times and told me what I can and can't do. I literally didn't listen to any of him.
So that is JP Sheffield.
Yeah, JP Sheffield. He was like, in the second last combination, it was a 5. It was a 6 and a 5, and it was quite a short one. And I came back and I was like, I'm so sorry, I did it on 5 and 4. He was horrified.
Well, it obviously works. Let's start with your first phase score, because 21.7. Yeah, so you led really convincingly after the dressage. How pleased were you with it? Because you're very, very good in all phases, particularly in the first phase, and he has bags and bags of talent, but that is a seriously special mark.
He's a very hot horse. He actually, at Houghton, he was so chilled out. So I did my dressage test, and he was so calm, and all the selectors said, "Oh, that was beautiful." And I actually, it rode a lot better than it actually looked. I watched it, and I was like, "It actually doesn't look 10 out of 10, but it felt it." And I mean, there are a lot of things I could work on, but I was so chuffed with him. He's such a special little horse, and he actually looks like a little dressage horse sometimes. And you're like, "Oh, yeah, I don't mind that."
We can take that from the eventers. Did he like? We'll talk a bit more about him and his hot-headedness in a moment. But did he like being away from home? Do you think? Do you think that was part of it, as sort of more settled with a 3-day?
No, I think it was because I actually was a bit ambitious, and I had 4 horses at Houghton. I had a little 5-year-old doing the next gen and 2 doing the 2-star. So I separated him from my other, like his normal companion, and he was so much more chilled out.
Okay.
Which I found so much easier because he wasn't close to him all the time because he was so far away from him.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a bit weird, but it made all the difference.
Well, it's a good one to have ticked off to know that actually makes a massive difference before what is going to be an exciting few weeks. Can I ask you about the cross country at Houghton and the feeling he gave you? Because he certainly cruised home comfortably inside the time, and that meant that your lead extended even more after dressage going into the final show jumping day.
Yeah, he was so strong. It was not pretty, but I made it happen. He literally came out of the start box like a bullet out of a gun. And you have to almost just let him do what he wants to do when you actually get to the fence, because that keeps him happy. It's when you start interfering too much when you're in front of the fence that he doesn't like it. And you just almost, if you're on a slightly dodgy distance, you just have to say, "Okay, here you go," and he'll just sort it out himself. He's clever enough, and he's careful enough that he loves it enough that he's always on the side, and he'll always try really hard for you. Where he's so bold, he just never backs off anything, and he just gallops straight. He just almost gallops straight through it because he's like, "That's tiny."
The bigger the fences get, the better hopefully that will become, because he's certainly,
I'm hoping,
seen him at various events in the past, and he just screams quality, screams bags of talent, but definitely doesn't look the easiest. So just, I mean, first of all, let's talk your show jumping round, because he is very, very well bred for the job. He is by Arco, who is, I mean, he's a Olympic gold medalist from London 2012 with Nick Skelton. That's right, isn't it?
I don't know. Arco might have been Athens.
No, you are right. It was Athens, and I am about 8 years out, Ibble. About 8 years out. I mean, there's no real excuse for that.
It's fine, Nicole. You're never normally wrong.
Well, I'll just gloss over it very swiftly. I mean, there's quite a big old faux pas in there. 8 years, listeners. 8 years. I will blame the heat. Okay, so he is by an Olympic horse, Arco, who was an absolute legend in show jumping, even if I can't remember what year he went to the Olympics. So he's very, very well bred as an eventer. And how was that final show jumping round? And what was the moment like when you realised that you'd been crowned the Under-21 National Champion?
It was quite stressful, actually, because he's also not the easiest to show jump. He's so funny because he just loves it, and he gets so excited. And he actually gives you a really weird feeling of when you're going faster than you actually are. So you can very easily take like 20 minutes to get around a show jumping round, and then you're like, "Oh God, I've got so many time faults." But equally, he has such a big stride that if you go quite fast, he just eats up the distance. So I was like, "Oh no, I've got to find a happy medium." But he was awesome. He is awesome. He is the best horse ever. I was so happy because I haven't had the easiest of years with him so far, and I've really struggled with him in the past. So I was so happy, and it was his first 3-star long, so it was pretty exciting.
Am I right in saying it was your first 3-star long format as well?
Yeah, it was as well, yeah.
How did you find it? Because you'd had good success at the 3-star short level last year. You'd won South of England with him. He had been well placed at Cornbury as well. But the step up to a long format 3-star is something else. How was that?
I didn't find it that bad because I'm sitting on something that lives off the atmosphere. And no matter what he feels like, the atmosphere will make him feel like he's just come out of 2 weeks off. So he didn't feel tired at all on the next day. And it just feels like a normal international. You just have to forget about the fact that it's so important and you're in the lead. And to be honest, I literally didn't leave my lorry at all. I didn't eat a single thing. I lived off Rescue Remedy. I was just like a mess. It was really stressful. It was a stressful time. But I think also what helped is I had one in the 2-star in the morning. Yeah. And I had already jumped around the show jumping and he jumped a nice clear round. So I rode it very similar to how I did my other grey horse that afternoon, the one that won.
Let me ask you about Aristotles. Aces, he's known at home. I mean, I think we're all gathering, anybody that hasn't seen him is picking up. He has bags and bags and bags of talent. He's pretty feisty. Certainly not the most straightforward. So give us an insight into him. How long have you had him? And a bit of background on what he's like at home, because he's not the easiest on the ground either, is he?
No. I've had him since he was 2. So I've had him for nearly 10 years. He's 12 next year, 10 years next year. And I actually got him because the Haleses, who owned Arco, promised me a little Arco foal, and they had one called Amy, and she actually, I don't know, she died. So Lisa rang up and said, have you got anything small that you don't want? And he came over from Belgium, and we've had him ever since. He is chaos to look after. He unties himself. He can take any item of tack off. He can take his bridle off under his head collar, his boots off. Yeah, he wears a seatbelt in the lorry.
Does he just find making people's life quite tricky, quite amusing?
Yeah, he finds it so fun. He climbs through the fence in the field. He, honestly, these last few weeks before the Europeans have been so stressful because we've just got to make sure he stays in his own field, and he doesn't want to do that.
How has your prep gone? Because obviously Houghton was middle of May, so I take it maybe did he have a little holiday, and then what have you been up to since then?
Yeah, so I took him to obviously Houghton, and then he didn't do much after Houghton at Summerford, and he was brilliant. I was like halfway around the cross country, and I said to my mum before I went cross country, "Oh, don't worry about the studs." Like, she put studs in to show them, so I didn't have. And she said, "Oh, don't worry about my studs. I'm pretty sure they'll be fine." And I lost my studs and took my flat, which was really quite sad. And bless him, he actually fell over as well, and he was a bit shocked. So he was fine. I trotted him up after, and he was all sound. And it was like the few tense moments, the few days after, like, am I going to get selected or am I not? Like, it was quite stressful.
So talk us through your selection. Where were you? How did you find out? And what did you do?
I'd actually just been cross-country schooling. I took 2 horses down to Boomerang. I took my little 5-year-old and a horse that I ride for a very nice owner. And I'm very funny at that. I'm quite awkward, and Daryl rang me, and I had to take myself away, and he was like, so the selectors want you for Heart Prix. It was Summerford didn't matter because you fell on the flat, and you're like, oh, thank God. And I went and told my mum, and she was really happy, and my grandma, who was ecstatic because she's 85 and it's quite close to home, Heart Prix, so she can easily come, which is really nice. And I was so happy because he is such a special little horse, and he really deserves to go.
And your mum has been a massive influence in your career so far, hasn't she?
Yeah, she's a legend.
Talk to us about the impact that she has, because, eventing is a hard old sport and it's a hard old life, and to have that kind of network around you that kind of champion you but keep it real and help you when the times get tough makes such a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And she is my biggest critic, but she means so well with it. Like, she is the best parent, and I suppose it's so nice having someone, and I'm almost doing it as much as I love it, I'm almost doing it a little bit for her, because I want to make I want to do the things that she couldn't do, and I want her to be there so that she can experience it. Like, she was supposed to go to the Olympics and she couldn't go because last Olympics had a heart attack around badminton, like the year before she was supposed to go, and she had her Olympic passport and everything, and she didn't get to experience that. So I'd like to do that so she can experience that in a different way, if you get what I mean.
And is that the goal for you? You know, obviously we've got a lot coming up in the next few months and everything else, but is the sort of the thing that makes you tick and the thing that makes you sort of pursue this sport the Olympics or the championships?
Yeah, at the same time, it's being the best that I can be. Like, it depends on the horse. Some people find the right horses in the right time, and some people have the right horse in the wrong time. I had Ace in 10 years' time when I'm a bit older and I've been there and I've done it, and I can take him up the ranks, whereas me and him were learning together, and it's a bit harder. And he's 11 now, so you have to want to do it.
You have got to want to do it. It's a tough enough sport.
Yeah.
What about? I'll ask you actually, because you've been to Europeans before. You actually went to the Pony European Championships when they were held in Stragon back in 2019. Team gold, individual silver then with Bookham Lodge, Penny Lane, and a pretty special championship experience to kind of give you the bug for sort of representing your country and wearing the flag.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, especially because that was the sickest little pony ever. It was epic. You could literally jump like 140 and it would jump the wings. It was so cool. I'm so sad that I outgrew it and I had to move on to horses.
Don't you wish you had growing powder for some of these ponies? Like, you could just dip something in their feed and they'd just shoot up to 16.2 and you'd be grand.
I do. I wish I could make her into like a 16.2. It would probably jump around badminton with its eyes shut. I'm so sad when I had to sell her. It was so sad. But we did our first little championships together, and she made me so proud, and she was a little Welsh cob. So what more could you ask for?
Sometimes they're the best ones, the happy memories. Can I ask you, obviously building up, this is so freaky, Ibble. I'm sat in Toby's playroom because it's the coolest room downstairs in the house. And one of his toys, listeners, if you can hear something really weird in the background, one of his toys that's across the room has just started speaking really randomly. That is freaky. Sorry, just going back to obviously we've got Hartbury coming up over the next we're a week and a half out, I guess. Is that right? A week and a half out? Yes. So what are your plans? When do you get to Hartbury, and what will you be doing between now and then?
So we are going to Rectory Farm on Monday. We're taking all the juniors and young rider horses. We all have to go there. We're then driving to the opening ceremony on Monday and then staying at Rectory on Monday night, and then we're all taking the horses on Tuesday to Hartbury. So
amazing.
That's quite exciting.
And Hartbury is a very happy hunting ground for you, isn't it? Because you've been once, but you won the big 2-star there last year.
Yes, I did. And annoyingly, I would have won it on Ace, but I walked to the wrong marker. So that's a pretty bitter, sweet pill to swallow. But
it is.
Maybe I can do it this year.
You walked to the wrong marker, but it must be said, you won't be doing that a second time, Ibble. You won't
Absolutely
be doing that
not. I actually milked a cat out of my mother. So.
Look, Ibble, good luck. Big few weeks, and I know everybody will be cheering on the NAF Junior and the young rider teams as well, and we're looking forward to seeing how it all unfolds. So wishing you the very, very best of luck. He and you are obviously undeniably talented, so good luck, but most of all, we hope you enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Listeners, we hope you've enjoyed a NAF cup of tea on the Echo Ratings Eventing podcast, and we might have a few more surprises in store for you as we build up to those junior and young rider European Championships, which are taking place on home soil for us Brits in just a few weeks' time. We'll be back very soon with more.